Good afternoon or good lunchtime, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Kimberly, and I am your Program Informational Specialist for all of the Ohio University College of Business graduate degree programs. So if you've spoken to any of our enrollment team, you've probably spoken to some of my friends. So thank you again for joining us. We have a lot of great content for you today. We're going to hear from our program directors. You're going to get your questions answered. So I'm going to urge you to use the question and answer box at the bottom of your screen. If we don't answer it over the course of the discussion, we can certainly answer it privately. So be sure to send in your questions. And then also we have a group chat box as well, also on the side of your screen. And that is how you get to interact with myself, my team, and our fellow webinar participants. That being said, I just wanted to quickly jump through about what we're going to be doing. When you registered, you did see that we have certain time frames attached to the different programs. So if you're here for the Master of Accountancy or the Master of Athletic Administration, you can feel free to stick us on mute or stick around, but that we're going to be hitting in the second hour. But feel free to send in your questions, and we'll be sure to answer them at the time. Who do we have with us today? Well, we have our 4 amazing program directors, and we'll be introducing them as we get along, move along to their sections. But these people are phenomenal. They're very passionate about their programs, so I cannot wait for you to hear more. So again, put your questions in. We will certainly have them answer as many as we can. But first, I wanted to talk to you guys about something super exciting. Like this year in particular, Ohio University has dedicated a ton of online graduate business scholarships. So these are scholarships that are for you, and you don't even have to really apply for them. So there's no additional application process. It's just you let us know and we'll take off the tuition. So if you're an Ohio University alumni, active or retired or student military veteran, one of our corporate partners, and if you happen to not know what that is, we can certainly link you later. You can get up to $5,000 off of your tuition for our graduate programs or $1,500 off of your first graduate business certificate. That's amazing and nothing that I've seen so far in the industry. And then we're even, in this particular instance, for summer 2021, we are doing incentive scholarships to try to get your applications in for our summer. So we have a deadline coming up. If you complete your application by March 5th, we'll put you in the running for a $750 tuition scholarship. So all you have to do is complete your application by, well, I guess that's next Friday, but it doesn't take very long to get that application in. And then because you joined me today and for your lunch hour, we definitely wanted to ensure that you got something from it too. So we're offering an application fee waiver for anyone who's joined us today, and I'll be sure to send it out and put it in the chat, but it is COB Learn, and you'll just place that in the admin box in the first place of the application, and then that's it. You'll save $50 off of the graduate applications or $35 off of the graduate business certificate application. So a lot of ways to save money, which I think you should definitely take advantage of, especially as you're going through your graduate journey here. So without further ado, I would love to introduce you to our newest graduate business program. It is the Master of Science in Management. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Amy Taylor-Bianco. She is our program director for this degree, as well as our graduate business certificates. Hi, Dr. I'll call you Dr. B. How are you today?
Hi, good. Good. Thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be here with this great group of talented professionals and program directors and all of the interesting people who are here today listening to the webinar. So thank you for being here. And as Kim said, thanks for sharing a little bit of your lunchtime with us.
Yeah.
Did you want me to jump in, or yeah?
Well, starting with the Master of Science in Management, this is nothing like a degree that I've seen in out there. It is completely tailored to your interests. So I'd like for you to just discuss with our audience who might not understand this degree, like what is it about? Why is it so personalized and tailored?
Absolutely. So this degree is really, it's kind of exciting because it's really what you make it. And maybe to tell you a little bit about that is we often have, kind of winding career paths. I was a liberal arts major, then I was in accounting, then I ended up, with a PhD in organizational behavior and becoming, running this program. So I'm really interested in helping all of you develop your path, your personalized path. Our goal as a program is to create an inclusive environment to grow managers through the coursework, also the personalized coaching and leadership development that you get along the way. So this program is a deep dive into management and leadership. So no matter what the industry you're jumping in, but it is personalized through the different certificates. So you start first with that management and leadership certificate. And that certificate is really, it just provides a great foundation for you. Thank you. It provides a great foundation of managing individuals and teams, kind of how to research the environment that you're in, how to use that environment to your advantage, and how to take on some of the decisions and challenges that you'll face along the way. So the goal of that particular certificate is it really helps professionals, kind of sharpen, right, deepen their strategic leadership development and knowledge, and also their team building skills. And then from there, so students can go into customizing their path. So they've got one required certificate, and then you tell us, right? You tell us what's important to you, what's important, if your organization is helping you pay for it, what's important to your organization. So you're going to choose certificates that we'll talk about in a little bit and end with a capstone experience. And that capstone builds on each of your certificates as well as that first management and leadership coursework. So you get to develop a project there. Yeah.
I love it. It is so, again, it's that unique factor that you can really start with everybody, build your cohort, and then dive into what you think will be beneficial to your career. And I know you and I have worked very closely. We've kind of done all these different matri for all the different combinations and what kind of careers you can get out of, like a business analytics and a human resources certificate in addition to the management and leadership coursework. And it's some really interesting stuff. So I think it's so unique. Who are the best students for this program? Is it people who might be just out of college? Is it people like me who are like mid-level in our careers?
Yeah, Kim, I wanted to touch on what you first said there too, is that the degree is so unique. And that really came out of some research that a lot of you folks did, like looking, that's what employers want, right? They want people who can manage people and data and processes together. So it helps you kind of customize to what employers want and also to your strengths. So we're looking for really just people who want to create that custom plan. So a lot of people do have experience. They are out, 5 years to 20-some years. Then there are people who are just graduating. And we find that putting people in groups, they have just different skills to offer. The one who's comfortable with the learning management system, and then the one who's, been managing people in industry forever. So coming together is really what's helpful, I think. and it seems to be what students think as they go along. So we're looking for a variety of people, but a little bit of experience is good, whether that's through internships or civic engagements or whether that's through work experience.
You and I work very closely with your current students, and they are just the most engaged student body I have ever worked with. They are so passionate about the coursework, but also where they're going, and it is really amazing. I'm going to back up one slide because there was one point on this bullet that I think we need to touch on, was that, you know, we discussed that you're actually launching a mentorship program for these students. So these are students who are being paired with people who are in their industry of choice, who are experts already in their field. Like, I don't know of any other program that that does that. So can you talk to us a little bit about the mentorship program and how you came about, like, building these relationships with these experts to get them connected with your students?
Absolutely. So one of the goals of this program that might be, you know, different or just unique to this program is that we really want that kind of personalized coaching and leadership development. So one of my goals is to put opportunities in front of people, and our current students are just, like you said, just going gangbusters, really just doing that. So we reach out to executives, in some cases, people that have had as students years ago, but people who are executives, who are often Bobcats, and they donate just a small amount of their time, and our students get in touch with them, and they have 3 months with a particular executive mentor, and then based on the way they use that opportunity, they are paired up again. So the goal is to really grow their community, grow their professional network while it's fully online. So I think for some people that may even be the draw of the program, is that their networks are growing through each other, right? And through a few programs, including the Executive Mentor Program.
I love it. It just comes off as such a great opportunity. And that's one thing also about being an online student. Sometimes we get questions of, will I get that personalized in the classroom feel? And I have to say unequivocally yes. You know, our classes are run on a very easy to use digital platform. Many of our professors, they use the discussion board as part of the coursework. So you're really getting to know your fellow cohort online. And I know a lot of students also take their, I don't want to say relationship, but their professional schooling relationships offline, and they have text and they have WhatsApp messages as well. So they really get to develop those relationships not only with their cohort, but through programs like this, build their networks throughout the entire United States to hopefully eventually get a job in a field that they want. So just going back to the coursework here with the MSM program, you know, you were, as I mentioned, this is a new degree, and you were really integral in developing the coursework. So I want to know how, or what were your takeaways that you hope that students would achieve through this? Like, what is your end goal for these students?
Absolutely. So we really worked on the certificates and a lot of different experts, right? They're not things that I created. Some of them I did, but many of them are by experts, you know, in their area. So we went to the best to create the certificates. And first of all, we went to just the data to say what industry openings are there? What are the jobs that aren't getting filled? What are the unique combinations of skills that people have? So really looking to pair, you know, sort of art and science, right? Data and people, looking to pair those combinations. So the human resource management one really has people with a lot of skill in that area. And they can talk about databases and they can talk about that end of it, but that's not their expertise, right? That's our our analytics faculty and our analytics leadership and program directors there. So we're really looking to leverage combined strengths, and we're hoping that and seeing that people will take different combinations that they can, then share with their employer as they go along. And they can also talk to their coach, and their executive mentor as they go along and say, do you think this is a good combination? This is what I think I'm going to do. What do you think?
I love it. All right, I have some speed round questions for you from our audience. So are you ready?
All right.
All right. Is the MSM program accredited? And
so
the answer is
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, well, of course, the College of Business is accredited by the AACSB, which is the highest accrediting body for business schools throughout the United States. In fact, less than 5% of business schools are accredited by the AACSB. Is that correct still?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome. So it is accredited in that way. There isn't like a specific, management MSM accreditation, but it is accredited through the highest, business accreditation. Absolutely.
Excellent. Thanks. For the MSM program, what opportunities might there be to learn about businesses as a system in addition to the pieces of the program that you mentioned already? Like, for example, are there opportunities to learn finance and marketing?
Okay. So if you want more of a overview of business, different areas of business, different business operations, that might be more your MBA, where you're going to take courses in each of those areas. So in the MSM, you're really going in a deep dive into the management side, the management and leadership, and the certificates there are kind of listed, but you are using data, you're using some basic principles, but you're not going into accounting and finance.
Got it. Do you have any nurses that are currently in the MSM program?
Funny you should ask that. We're getting quite a few people in healthcare who are interested, and a number of people in healthcare who are becoming mentors too. So it's kind of interesting. So we have different healthcare folks. I don't know that I have specifically a nurse yet, but I do know I have a number of people in healthcare who are interested, and I would love to talk to the nursing folks to see how that works. I was just actually kind of looking at that recently.
That's amazing. I'm going to spoil it, but we're going to move on to the certificates very shortly, where you'll learn a little bit more about what healthcare options. So one question that's on here is what certificates count? And right here at the bottom of the slide, we have 6 that are currently rolling into the MSM coursework. But we're always changing this and we're always growing it. So if you don't see a certificate here right now, that doesn't mean that it's always going to be like that. So stay tuned, get started, because the management and leadership, everyone takes that first, and then we can see where we go from here. So I'm just going to keep us moving very quickly, because we actually, Dr. B and I had a wonderful Graduate Business Certificate virtual info session last week. So we went really in depth to that. So if you'd like the link to that presentation, just pop it in to the Q&A box and I'll make sure to send it out, that presentation. But we have a growing list of graduate business certificates that you get these within 3 to 4 courses. And the one that struck me most is our newest one, which is Executive Management for Healthcare Professionals. So this certificate is new, but it is absolutely great for people who are in the healthcare industry but have to work on the business side of healthcare industry. So you want to know how to work, gain profit while making sure your mission of caring for people is also achieved. So these are our graduate business certificate options. Many of these graduate business certificates not only stack into the MSM, but also the MBA and the MBAN degree as well, which we'll hear a little bit more about. So let's see, I think there's a quick one more question for you. Will the certificate count towards the MSM? And the answer is yes. Some certificates do, some of them do not. So as you're looking at the program, just be sure, I'll chat you guys the link to this so that you can see which ones currently stack in and which ones we're thinking about stacking in. So thank you so much. Do you have any final words about the graduate business certificates, Dr. B, at all? I'm going to back up one slide.
Okay, yeah, just on my end, that they really are great certificates. Dr. Young can talk about this as well, but we do have, experts in each of the areas developing those certificates. So we really took the time to put the courses together well. And the ones that stack into the MSM are listed. There are some cases where a certificate doesn't stack, but a course might count into the MSM or the MBA. So there are a lot of different options. And for the MSM, I would say Kim is right. You don't have to know exactly what you want to do, but get started with that management and leadership certificate, and then we can work with you to get you into the right certificates for you.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much. Whew, that was a lot.
Thank you.
Keep those questions coming. I'll have Dr. B in the question and answer box answering any specific questions about the MSM. But I know that a lot of you are here for the Master of Business Administration and the Master of Business Analytics degrees, which are both headed by the amazing Dr. Young. And I believe he's on and ready to chat with us. Dr. Young, hi, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Oh, great. Do you mind just quickly telling people about your background super fast?
Sure, super fast. So my name is Dr. Young, and as noted, I'm the director of both our MBA and our MBAN, which is our Masters of Business Analytics program. My background is in actually engineering, but during the time I was a student in engineering, I got interested in working with various companies like General Electric, Aviation, and started actually getting an interest in data analytics. And now that brings me to my current career, which I'm a professor and I teach and research in analytics.
And you're one of the most passionate people I know about analytics too. So we're getting ready to jump into this section, folks. So feel free to pop your questions into the Q&A box and we will answer them as we go through the program as well. So just getting started here. Here we go. Master of Business Administration. So many of you are here. I want to share with you that our online MBA program was recently ranked in the top 100 online MBA programs in the nation by U.S. News and World Report. And that there are a lot of MBA programs out there, folks, but being in the top 100 and in the, I think, either number 1 or number 2 in Ohio, you're definitely getting some quality here. So, Dr. Young, what makes Ohio's MBA stand out from the rest?
It's a great question because, as you mentioned, there's so many programs out there to choose from, some less expensive, some more expensive. So I think it's really important to highlight what makes OU different. So first and foremost, as we mentioned, we are AACSB accredited, which is, like Dr. Amy Taylor-Bianco said, it's really difficult to get, and it's really not something that a lot of programs out there have. So less than 5% of the programs in business are accredited. So we're accredited by AACSB and the Higher Learning Commission, which is fantastic because when you really look at it, employers notice that accreditation, and that's what really separates some of the less expensive degrees from the more expensive degrees when you really look at it. So Ohio University really strides itself on creating value. So, like you mentioned, we actually come in every year, somewhere in those rankings, it kind of differs every year, but we're always excited to see where we fall. And we're very competitive with programs not only within Ohio, but across the nation. And it's because we have extremely gifted and passionate faculty. who really don't treat an online program as just a secondary thing that they do in the evenings. They treat it as something that is their full-time career, that they're very passionate about transferring their knowledge and enthusiasm and skill sets to our students. So they work day and night, and we're consistently noted for our faculty returning emails, not within 24 hours, but something much sooner than that. So you can tell, and I have the privilege of working with all these faculty members, that we just share our stories and we share our passion, and we're always trying to create the best program possible. And to do that, you need supporting members. So our support staff is very supportive of our students, and you can always reach out to them, and they'll give you the information that you need to transition from course to course, or perhaps, as we mentioned earlier, we have many different options. We have certificate options, we have the MSM, and they're kind of intertangled, if you will. There's so much overlap, and there's so many pathways. So in terms of our MBA, what we really rely on is the experience and expertise of our faculty members, the passion and the supportive nature of our staff, and as well as our leadership. They're always giving us the support that we can pursue new initiatives. And part of that initiative is creating new concentrations, and you'll see later we have several for you to choose from. So we offer a core set of classes that give you a deep dive in a general business perspective. So you'll take courses that relate to accounting, finance, analytics, strategy. So really, when you think of a professional that's wanting to create some value for themselves within their organization, to either do the horizontal or vertical moves within their company or their industry, it really requires an understanding across the board of the business spectrum. So that's why we offer the deep dive in those traditional business areas, but we also provide the concentrations so you can have sort of a narrowly focused skill set after you leave the MBA. So our course structure, is 35 hours. And I think it's always important to mention, since we're dealing with working professionals, what your life would be like when you take the program from Ohio University. So it is 35 hours. It can be completed in 2 years. You get to pick one of these concentrations, and then we have, again, that core set of classes. We offer our courses one at a time, which I think is important if you're shopping around for different MBAs. We don't want our students sort of competing with other courses, meaning I don't want our students to take 2 courses simultaneously where you've got maybe a difficult week and you only have the weekend to catch up on your assignments, and all of a sudden you have 2 exams during a weekend, or 2 homework assignments, or a homework and an exam, something of that nature. So what we've done is broken down a semester into term A and term B, the first 7 weeks of a semester and the last 7 weeks of a semester. So you're able to focus on one thing at a time, which is really important from a working professional's perspective, because you got enough going on in your life right now. You have family obligation, work obligations, and other obligations in your life to try to juggle an MBA program. And we're noted, as Kim mentioned, something like U.S. News and World Report, we get highly ranked for our value, and something like Poets and Quants, we're always highly ranked with their ranking system as well. More in particular, our experience for the working professional and the value we create, so the return on your investment. So those are some of the areas that we're known for, and some of our differentiating factors. And I would say, from our faculty's perspective, you're taking classes from the experts. A lot of programs out there, you might think you're taking courses from somebody with in-depth knowledge within a discipline that's research active, that's consulting and professionally active, but sometimes those courses are often taught by a GA, a graduate assistant, that might have just had the course a semester ago, and a lot of programs try to scale in that manner, but we didn't do that. That would be maybe easier, more scalable, and other things, because faculty resources come at a premium, but we put the faculty directly in communication with our students, and I think that's another important differentiating factor to consider when you're looking at various programs out there.
I agree. And time again with our surveys with postgraduates, we hear that the faculty at Ohio University is the ones that make the difference. I mean, many of your students are on a first name basis with you, and I think you mentioned that they don't mind texting you in the middle of the night to help get some assignments done. But this question from one of our audience members actually goes across all of our graduate business programs, so maybe you could help elaborate on it. So are the lectures asynchronous? And what kind of flexibility are there in terms of, when assignments are due or how the courses are structured because it's online?
Okay, so that's a great question. In terms of flexibility, we're always noted by those ranking bodies of how flexible we actually are. I mean, within reason, of course, but when it comes down to it, what's life as a student like? So first of all, most classes are set up in a way that it's both asynchronously and synchronously. So a traditional class might be you have a pre-recorded library of videos that you would watch starting on Monday, continue watching those on a Tuesday, maybe even through Wednesday, and maybe my classes, for example, are offered. I offer a synchronous session Thursday night, so you get to ask your questions related to those videos that you might be struggling with or might have questions about. And then we kind of shift at that point into a homework mode. So you prepare yourself for the material watching those video recordings. You come get live help. And if you're not able to make that live help, we record those sessions. So we send those out immediately after the classes. We switch into a homework kind of modality, if you will. And that continues throughout the rest of the week. Traditionally, our modules our weeks end on a Sunday evening. So most of our classes, the homeworks are due Sunday night at midnight, essentially. And before homeworks are due, we ask our faculty to have another synchronous session. So each week of our program, we ask our faculty to meet with our students twice a week. And most of those classes are optional, but they're always recorded just in case you can't come. Because again, we really try to tailor this to working professionals. So we understand that you might have obligations. We understand that we might have West Coast students, East Coast students, or anywhere in between, of course. So, we really try to add the flexibility. Some of our assignments, they might be due on a Sunday at a specific time. We try to give you the maximum amount of time to complete those assignments. For example, on my exams and analytics, I basically create a 24-hour window where you pick a time of your choosing on a Sunday to sit down and take the exam. So we really try to focus on being flexible with our students.
For sure, and I'm going to do a shameless plug here. So we do get this question a lot. What is it like to be a student and have that work-life balance plus class? And I am hosting another webinar later on this next month on March 16th at noon, where we'll be hearing from some current MBA students. So if you are interested in joining me for that one will be via Zoom. So I can pop the registration link as well. But it's people do it. It is a commitment. It is no lie. Doing this is certainly something that you will be investing time in, but we try to make it as easy as possible. So as Dr. Young mentioned, the classes are taken one at a time in 7-week increments. So you can really become a subject matter expert before you move on to the next course. And then we also have a whole variety of different resources for you. We have student support coaches that you're actually assigned to when you get accepted, and that person is there to help you with your registration, any questions, if you need to speak with a professor and you can't get a hold of them, and they are also available via text as well. So lots and lots of different resources. Go ahead.
A couple more points I'd like to point out. I actually teach the very first course in our MBA track, and I can tell you it's definitely doable, so I don't want to scare anybody away. But often it's not the content of the course that at most time is what students struggle with. it's really initially adjusting to that work-life balance. And I'm just being honest. So a lot of our students, they range in the age of later 20s all the way up to 60, and they probably never have taken an online course before. So we do have an orientation program that you would go through before taking your first class. We actually offer what we call the QBC, which is our quantitative business course, that if you're a little hesitant about taking an MBA, which by default you're going to be taking a lot of quantitative courses, accounting, finance, analytics, and things of that nature. If you have a little bit of a concern, you can ask about that QBC, and it's a free course that we offer that kind of is designed to get you up to speed on an online platform that will be very beneficial in passing that first class, but it's not necessarily required. But if your background is fairly limited in your quantitative course history, if you will, then we might make a recommendation about that. But you can always ask about that. But, you know, that first class, I tell my students time after time when I launch a class, you know, it's the work-life balance. So I think, you know, I would do a disservice to you to say, oh, yeah, it's easy, everybody does it. We do have an outstanding attrition rate. Our attrition rate is very low. People do it all the time. You know, we work with learning designers all the time to make sure that the content that we create is appropriate for an online adult learner. And, you know, you will have to make adjustments in your life, but it is definitely doable. The way our content is spaced out, if you carve out a little time every night, or even if you take a night off, that's fine, but at some point you're going to have to make up that time. And by the time you're able to meet with your faculty live and go through all the other supporting mechanisms that we offer in our classes, you know, I have a high degree of confidence that you will succeed. But it does take some adjustment to get back, quote unquote, into the classroom and manage your life and your responsibilities with your spouse, with your superior at work.
Agreed. And I know that my dog had a huge adjustment when I started my graduate program because I couldn't walk him as much. But you know what? Everyone makes adjustments, and it's just a little bit of time. One question that we have, and I know this is going to vary by class, but like from your classes, for example, how many hours of classwork would you say there is weekly?
That's a great question. I look at that evaluation information every semester for every class, and I would say in general, 15 hours is kind of the average. It just is class dependent. With an MBA, sometimes we get students that have a high level of quantitative background. So, you know, we're talking about the engineers of the world that find the analytics classes to be less daunting, so they're not spending quite as much time as 15 hours a week. But in an OBHR, organizational behavior and human resource class, or maybe an ethics class, maybe something that they're less familiar with, they do end up, you know, picking up more time through those weeks. So it's really hard to say. It's really dependent upon your background, but I would say on average 15 hours, but it could be more, it could be less.
I read the same surveys as you, and I would say that is probably average for most of our graduate business programs, 15 hours, you know. And again, it does depend on what your expertise is. For example, I'm a really fast reader, so any courses that had a lot of reading material, I was banging through that pretty quickly. So awesome. Great questions, folks. Okay, so let's, now I'm going to keep one more question here for you. So these, we talked a little bit about the concentrations and how it plays into the core curriculum, and all of that together raises up into the business administration program. So where do you find your students, like, do you find that students are satisfied with the ROI of the whole thing? And can you talk a little bit about some of the career paths for people? Do you find that your students are getting promotions? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have the latest exit survey from our alumni base in front of me, but I always enjoy reading them, and I'm always impressed with the ROI of our program, our programs, plural, is or provides. So, our students are getting promotions or they're finding new industries to get into. I mean, an MBA really serves a lot of different purposes and a lot of different goals of our students. And we have students across various disciplines that are wanting to either move into new areas or take a promotion, probably more about staying within an organization and climbing that corporate ladder than the other. But yeah, I am very satisfied, and I know our students are as well when they indicate the return on investment. I'm always impressed when I look at the amount of salary that our students have been able to increase by after completing their MBA program with us. So, we're talking it's not out of the question to get a yearly salary increase of 10 to sometimes even as much as 20. So when you look at the payoff period of a 2-year program, it's definitely there. Going back to that AACSB accreditation, employers recognize that. And actually getting a master's is it's not something everybody has, even though an MBA is popular. When you really look at the statistics overall, there's not many people within organizations. I mean, of course there are, but obtaining a master's degree is special. So when you do that, when you accomplish that, they think of bigger and brighter things for your career trajectory. So, I'm personally very satisfied with our return on investment. And like I said, we have students from various backgrounds, so it's hard to pinpoint down exact transitions that they're making, but they're making transitions all the time, and it's all about us doing what we can to satisfy and do what we can to allow our students to achieve their goals, which is quite vast.
Great, and that is a great segue into one more thing that makes all of our College of Business programs very unique, and there's the slide. It is called the Leadership Development Program, and I know that some of you have heard about this already. So the Leadership Development Program, or the LDP as we cool kids call it, is a 2-day workshop that is held in Athens, Ohio on the campus. Now, recently, due to COVID, it has been online, but that does not mean that it'll always be online, because it is a absolutely stunning addition to all of our graduate programs. So I did lie. The Master of Athletic Administration does not have to come to LDP, but they have their own version, which we'll talk about in the second hour. And then if you're in the Graduate Business Certificate program, you don't have to come to this either. But for the master's degrees, you do, and it's great. We hear time and time again, people are like, I don't really want to go travel to Ohio. But once they're there and once you're on our campus and you're seeing our professors in real life, you're seeing your fellow cohort in real life, you get to go back to college for 2 days. Like, come on, I would do it in a heartbeat. So during this event, you hear from world-class speakers. You get to go through various workshops. I know that in the past they did a personal branding workshop, and it's so great. So Dr. Young, or Dr. B, for you, what are some of the highlights of the LDP?
Yeah, as you mentioned, we certainly bring in guest speakers around really the globe these days. Given that we're online, we're able to connect with people, and we're able to leverage our Walter Leadership Center to bring in working professionals with a tremendous amount of experience in leadership to talk with our students, either as keynotes or breakout panels, or breakout sessions with maybe our faculty or people that want to come back and contribute to our leadership development program. It's just a wonderful event, and I built to be completely transparent with you. When I was asked to be the director of this program in 2013, I thought, this is an online program. Why would students want to come to Athens for a day and a half? That's what it really boils down to. And I'm really happy to say I was completely wrong. When we hold these events, sometimes we're upwards of 200 to 250 participants. So that's all students, that's faculty, that's guest speakers, in and out of our ballroom at Baker Center. And I'm always just so proud of the work that we put in from the Walter Leadership Center about organizing these speakers, organizing different sessions. It's about understanding your leadership style and how you would like to be led and how you can lead others. So I think there's sort of a personal development and growth there. So it's just an amazing experience. And every time I look at those exit surveys, our students talk about how wonderful of an experience it was. And we require you to come to one, but we have a growing number of students that come back for their second and third, and frankly, they ask to come back to more. So I think overall it's a sense of community, and if you're a Bobcat alumnus, you would essentially know what that experience is like, and I think it's a great opportunity to either reconnect as a former Bobcat alumni, or it's a way to solidify what a Bobcat means to you. So it's a really great experience just being on campus, talking with your classmates that you've sent so many emails to or engaged in a virtual class together or communicated with on a discussion board or something like that. It also gives you a tremendous amount of an opportunity to meet the faculty and share your stories. And I tell you, I look forward to both of these events that we run every year because I love talking with our students, and they always remind me, what it is I'm doing and who I should craft my content towards, because I hear their stories and how useful my content is, and I get to just re-engage and kind of take a look at myself and my content and say, am I satisfying my students in the best way possible? So it's just an overall great event.
And I have been to one of them, and people line up to take pictures with you, Dr. Young. You're like a celebrity on campus, and it's he signs autographs, he speaks, he's amazing. So that is, it's definitely true. So we're getting a little bit of questions about how it's LDP is going to look going forward. We have one coming up in April, and that one will be virtual because of COVID still. And we're really playing it by ear. We don't really know what the future holds, but I have been told that the virtual one is just as good as the in-person one, with the exception of not being able to go to the bars around campus, but still good, and let's see here. We also have
I will add in there, because I'm on the opposite side of Dr. Young, like where I thought the in-person would be really good, and we kind of like just play opposites there. But I found that the virtual one, and I'm sure Dr. Young would agree, was actually phenomenal too. And there were a lot of really interactive sessions, and we missed seeing people's faces in person, but I thought it went off really, really well too.
Yeah, I would just echo that tremendously, because, and I really think, I just can't help myself, but I really think it's about the people involved in this process. We have dedicated staff and faculty that really care about the quality of anything we do, regardless of what program you're interested in, whether that's a full master's degree, whether it's a certificate, anything. I mean, it was once said at an LDP, and it's always resonated with me, at OU, we don't treat these programs as just something extra we do. I mean, we are on Microsoft Teams, we're emailing back and forth. I mean, this is a large portfolio of our offerings that is not an afterthought at all. I mean, we're leveraging all internal resources that we can to provide really the best experience that we possibly can. So, this is just another example of us coming together as a college and using any resource that we can to make a great experience. So the online is great. I was actually apprehensive about it, but after attending live sessions and things of that nature, always with a mindset of working in your working responsibilities and things. So we're doing it at a safe kind of time, if you will, less demanding than, asking somebody to attend 8 hours straight or something like that. it was just phenomenal. And both, regardless of what environment we're operating, when you take the program, you'll have a great experience. I have no doubts.
Awesome. Thank you both for that. Okay, so I am going to answer some more questions in the Q&A box, but I'd like to move on to the Master of Business Analytics, because this is definitely Dr. Young's baby here. So I want you to just take it away. Tell us about this program and who. Go.
Oh, okay. Sure. So prompts along the way are definitely welcome, but yeah, I can fill an hour or two or three about just analytics, because it is really my true passion. And I will say, you know, all of our successes going in with the MBA and other things that have led to the development of our Masters of Business Analytics. So we took everything that was working well, all of our recognition that we get online. We listened to our students and what kind of experience that they would wanted, and we leveraged things like the MBA concentration in analytics to essentially form the Business Analytics Master's program. So this program is about 3 years old, and we're already getting recognized by reputable sources out there for our value and our quality. And what can I say? Analytics is almost in every single conversation, at least that I have. But I mean, every time I read articles about where industries are going, you know, it doesn't matter which industry you're talking about, whether it's healthcare. I just got off an hour-and-a-half long meeting with healthcare professionals about, you know, what can we do as a college to support their analytical efforts. Doesn't matter if it's, you know, something like sports. It doesn't matter if it's sort of operations or, you know, manufacturing or service industries. Analytics is here to stay. And when you think about data and you think about how much better an organization can operate from the use of analyzing that data, there's just a tremendous opportunity. And when you read about the opportunities, you know, it's really in that business analytics area that organizations right now really don't have the talent internally to create a strategy, if you will, to lead their organization through sort of this analytics revolution. How do you make decisions that are just simply better, less risky, more informed decision? It's through the analysis of data. So we've put this program together, and we've really tried to focus on what student we're actually trying to attract to our program. We definitely get students that are scared to death of analytics, but they know within their organization there's an opportunity for them. And I can just tell you, because I've been very involved with creating these courses and or working with faculty, this program is, you know, developed where you don't really have to have, you know, an extensive background. Even if you haven't taken a probability and stats course for like 15 years, it doesn't matter. What really matters is you have the passion to learn the material. We've developed the content in a way that will assume very little at all of your background. And gradually through the program, we're going to enhance your skill set, and we're going to enhance your confidence that each way throughout the program, with a 5-semester program, you're going to gain that confidence, you're going to gain the skill to where at the end you really can create business value through your analytical skills. And again, the opportunities within industry are so abundant. I mean, you look at stats about how many data analysts from a business analytics perspective that are needed versus what's graduating each year. There's a huge deficit. So there are tons of opportunity out there, and you're in a unique position right now, in all honesty, to either get an experience in analytics so you can lead your company and your organization and your team members through this analytical revolution, or you're coming in as a younger student, less experienced, right out of a bachelor's program, that want to have that deep skill set within analytics to propel your organization through this revolution.
Phew, that is great. That's a great description. And I know you mentioned that people who are math phobic or don't have that computer science background, you know, it doesn't matter, or, well, it does matter, but there are systems in place to help guide you through if this is your passion. So can you talk a little bit about how and what courses are required, or how you ensure that everyone is on the same playing field by the time they finish the MBAN curriculum?
Yeah, that's a great segue for this particular slide. So when we get students, again, we assume very little of their understanding of a probability and stats course that they took several years ago that probably walked away with it knowing very little or having very much confidence in those topics whatsoever. So I can say, first of all, you know, there's a lot of ideas going through my head, and I could take this conversation different levels. But, you know, when we get to the math part, we really focus on application. Okay, so it's important to know a little bit about the math and understand how these models and equations work. But again, we're a business analytics program, so we're going to leverage software. We're going to leverage your understanding of the true application to a business context. We are not a data science program. A data science program would have a real deep dive in programming languages like Java, C++, Python, and others, to where they're more focused about the elegance of math and programming than they are the true application of how you actually increase your competitive advantage from an analytics perspective at your organization. That's what overall a business analytics program is, and that's what's different from a business analytics program than a data science program. So we are very application focused, and I can tell you from a teaching perspective, if you're application focused, you have a reason to learn these topics. You can see how these topics are integrated or could be applied within your own organization. So there's an intrinsic motivation there if you teach in a hands-on way. And that's the way every single course that we've developed takes. It's hands-on. Videos are created by our extremely talented faculty. They're not only extremely talented from a content perspective, but they're truly talented in taking their information, their subject matter expertise, and delivering it in a way that people from many different backgrounds can digest simply. So we start you out in a comfortable environment. I mean, if I ask how many people here or that are going to be listening later to the call have ever used Excel, there's going to be a lot of hands raised, right? So we start you out in an environment where we're getting you comfortable. We're establishing a baseline, and that is great because you've got to build that confidence along the way. So we're going to take your existing knowledge of Excel. We're really going to push the bounds of Excel in terms of what it's capable of, and at the right time, in a slow but sure way, we're going to get into other technologies such as Python. So when you get to the point where you really can't use Excel anymore, or you want to use it in a different way, such as automation and things of that nature, you need an understanding of Python. To be able to do an analysis, you need to have a fundamental understanding of how to manage data. So think of your organizations, your IT systems, and things of that nature. They can generate data for you, but it's going to be critical to put it in the right form so you can do the analysis. And when I say analysis, I'm talking about the pillars of analytics that Gartner defines as descriptive. What does the data look like? Can I summarize the data in charts and figures and a dashboard, essentially? Can I make forecasts with the data? Can I take historic data and see what the future looks like? Because if I can understand what the future looks like in general, either probably short-term, mid-term, then I can start making changes. I can start making decisions from an organizational perspective to get ready for those types of scenarios that you might forecast. I can better understand who's buying my products, who's buying my services, and things of that nature. So I can tell you what drives the forecast. So again, you can leverage your business understanding in a way that will help you drive business. And then it goes through prescriptive. So what are mathematical techniques that lead to optimal decision making? You know, so it's a really comprehensive core set of courses that are, I would say, more focused on the application side of things. And during the time we're teaching you technical concepts, we're always rooted in that application. And then we have some strategic. So if you're looking at the slide, we have strategic use of information and strategic use of analytics. Those courses are the softer side of things when it comes to how do organizations create a culture of adopting analytical practice? What are the systems in place that we need? How do you get an organization to adopt this data-driven culture?
Ooh, great. I hope that answers a lot of your questions. One question that I did see the pop in that I thought was interesting in regards to both the Business Analytics certificate as well as the Master of Business Analytics. Could you just tell us what is the difference between business analytics and data analytics, and could one pursue a data analytics position with this degree? Are they the same?
It's tough because you can look at 10 different resources online to define what's the difference between data analytics, business analytics, data science, and data analysis, and every site's going to have a slightly different definition. So I would say we're in between the two spectrums. And I'll go with the hardcore data science first because, again, my background's in engineering, so that usually tailors to more of the data science approach. In a data science approach, you really understand how some sort of machine learning algorithm is going to take data. You can crunch the numbers on a piece of paper mathematically and understand every mathematical equation that is involved with something like artificial neural networks. And I'm just kind of throwing out, those techniques and big words. But you really have an understanding from the ground up of all the mathematics behind it. And if you have that understanding, then you can manipulate anything you possibly want to in a programming environment, which is great. Tremendous skill set, definitely needed. And if I had my slides up that I teach, I talk about where the growth areas are in terms of the amount of professionals needed with a data science versus the amount of professionals needed with a business analytics degree. And I can tell you there's not just twice as many business analytics job opportunities out there. There's like 10 times more because it is rooted in every organization, every business discipline out there where there's a much more narrow focus on data science. So in my opinion, we've definitely made the right decision developing a business analytics program than a data science. So you go from one hardcore extreme of being more excited about the math and then the other, which is, and I don't want to say it's the business analytics is the other path because our program is actually kind of in the middle. You'll get exposed to the inner workings of these algorithms, but there's just less emphasis on them. There is no reason you need to know how some sort of ordinary partial differential equation model works when you're trying to make a forecast using some sort of method, machine learning method. There's just not. So we focus on using the tools that are available, like Excel, like Python, like Power BI, like Tableau, SQL, R, and others. And we really hone in on how do you take that data from a business context and actually drive value from it. So how do you conduct the analysis? What are best practices in conducting the analysis? How do you interpret the analysis? And more importantly, how do you build a narrative around your analysis that you can actually make decisions and convince others of your decisions and your analysis from a corporation and leadership perspective? So you'll definitely get comfortable with these methods. And when I throw out terms like linear regression and clustering and various other things, you'll understand what they are. You might not absolutely understand the mathematics behind it, but you'll have some insight, a good level of insight about them, but good enough to where we can focus on other things that actually make a difference in businesses today.
Whew. Yes, indeed. And we have just a few more minutes with the Master of Business Analytics. So I just want to ask this one final question. I thought it was great. So what do you find, actually I'm going to rewind, based off of our research as well, we see that the career growth, as you said, is growing in this field exponentially. So what type of are the most common career outcomes for this degree? What kind of title should these folks be looking at if they're hypothetically looking?
It's actually a more difficult question than you might expect because this is really a relatively new discipline. You know, you think about 10 years ago, these programs didn't exist, and the industry is still trying to figure it out, just like they're trying to figure out what's the difference between data science and business analytics. So the titles of these positions are kind of evolving, but in general, I would say a business analyst is the most popular form of job titles that are out there. But I tell you, if you get into it, it really differs quick. So if you look at job postings, the organizations are still trying to figure out what they're calling this, and they're trying to establish their own culture of data-driven decision-making practices. So they're trying to figure it out too, and most likely they don't have the kind of the right skill set now, so they might not be the most informed about what these titles actually should be. But there's just a tremendous amount of growth, and I know this is kind of a helicopter view answer, but there's just growth within any organization. So I kind of want to say it really doesn't matter, because these organizations are in such a desperate need to make decisions with data. You can almost have any title out there, from marketing analyst to operations specialist to business analyst, and so forth and so on.
Great. Thank you so much. So that was a lot for both our MBA and our business analytics programs here. So Dr. Young is going to be hanging out with us and answering more questions in the Q&A box. So if you have specific questions, feel free to pop them in there. But we want to make sure that we get to all of our amazing degree programs. So I'm going to keep us moving here. And then if we just have time at the end of this, we'll make sure that we circle back with you guys. But now I would like to introduce to you our amazing Dr. Jennifer Stevens, and she is our program director for the Master of Accountancy. You know, she just joined us, so hi, Dr. Stevens. How are you?
Great. How are you? Thanks so much, Kim.
Doing well.
So I am the director for the Master of Accountancy, and we are really proud of our Master of Accountancy here at Ohio University. It's a fairly new program within the last 5 years, and so we've had an opportunity to develop it kind of from the ground up, looking to the future and what we see as the future of accounting and the future of information. And so, you know, we have an online version, which many of you might be interested in, but we also have a residential version. And so we have designed the program to be the same under any type of, you know, modality, as we call it. So you're getting the same Ohio University professors, you're getting the same Ohio University experience, and really Ohio University prides itself on providing a transformative learning experience. And I really think that we have done that. So we've incorporated a lot of business analytics. You would take some data analytics classes with Dr. Young or one of his colleagues. And, you know, we have a case-based curriculum. So we're training you to, you know, be information specialists, financial information specialists for, you know, to meet the needs of, you know, the future of business. And the good thing about accounting is that we are information specialists, and people realize that accountants, you know, really understand business in general because we see everything that runs through the financial statements. So we understand, you know, the marketing side or the finance side, because we have to understand how to account and use that data to transform that data into information useful for decision making. So accountants are really very well-versed in business in general, and so there are a lot of jobs, whether it's in core accounting or whether it's in some other type of financial analysis.
Thank you so much for that great high-level overview. You know, accounting is certainly one of those fields that is recession-proof. So if you find yourself at a place in your career where you have to make a decision, you know, for your graduate program, do I want to deep dive into the financial realm, or do I want to stay more general? You know, a Master of Accountancy may be for you. And one thing that I think Dr. Stevens just touched on lightly, but we're going to go more in depth on, is that many Master of Accountancy programs out there require you to either have that background, undergraduate background in accounting, or have some sort of business background. But here at Ohio University, we certainly understand that, you know, that may have not been your undergraduate. I always make the joke, I may have started my undergraduate in pottery or dance, but now I've grown up a little bit and decided that accountancy might be my career path. And I'm happy to let you all know that we have a path for you. So no matter your undergraduate background, whether it was in music, whether or not it was actually in finance, there is a way for you to earn your Master of Accountancy, which also gives you enough credits to sit for the CPA exam. Now, our courses, they don't teach to the exam. We make a very strong point to say, you know, you're getting a master's degree, so you're learning the leadership, all the great things that we previously discussed. But on top of that, you know, you're getting the education that you need to go beyond and sit for the CPA exam as well. So I don't know what some of your backgrounds are. I don't know if you've had this degree, undergraduate in accounting or not, but it's there for you. And if you'd like to learn more about how we actually get you up to speed, if you were, like me, a dance major and suddenly would like to go into accounting, we can certainly discuss that as well. But right on the screen, actually, right now, you'll see how we do that. So we have a very strong core coursework that is 30 credits, but you will take up to 12 to 15 credits more if you need additional help with ensuring that you meet the graduate prerequisite courses as well. So if you're interested in any of that, feel free to chat us, get in touch with our admissions crew as well. We'll figure out the best path for you. So Dr. Stevens, one question that came up, and maybe you can answer this, maybe you can't, is why would someone pick a Master of Accountancy versus the MBA with a concentration in accounting?
Sure. So, you know, a master, well, first of all, you would need, in most states, 30 credit hours of accounting in order to sit for the CPA exam. So you're not going to get that normally through an MBA with a concentration in accounting. So if your goal is to sit for the CPA exam, you know, you really do want the Master of Accountancy. And you know, please double check with your enrollment advisor. We meet the CPA requirements in almost every state, but we just want to double check for you because sometimes there are a few states that have, you know, very maybe nuanced, unique requirement. So please do double check with your enrollment advisor. But for the most part, we meet the CPA exam requirements in any state if you pursue the Master of Accountancy. Even if you don't have an undergraduate degree in accounting, that is the goal, right? So you can still sit, you know, enter the program, get your Master of Accountancy, and be eligible to sit for the CPA exam, which is in a very low number of credit hours, which is a great benefit of our program. We've, you know, we've designed this specific path for those that are interested in changing careers completely. And, you know, the other thing, the Master of Accountancy is a more specialized degree. So we, I always think that you know, the knowledge of the world is in everyone's fingertips now. If I would have told my grandmother that, you know, I could hold the knowledge of the world in my hand, they wouldn't even be able to imagine what that might look like. But it is our cell phones and the internet, right? And so, you know, I think the more, so general business knowledge I see as helpful in some cases, but I really see the way of the future being a very deep dive and very specialized knowledge in a specific area. And so I think that's what the Master of Accountancy is giving you. It's a very versatile degree that can be applied in a lot of different settings, but it is also a specialized degree. And it will, you know, lead you toward a CPA or, you know, some type of financial field that has a lot of opportunities for growth. And, you know, that credentials is a gold standard of credentials. There's a lot of credentials, but, you know, the CPA is well recognized everywhere around the world. And so there's a lot of benefit to that as well. And, you know, the chair of the School of Accountancy, we kind of laugh. He always says, I can promise you in accounting that you will have a job. But then he says, I can't always promise you that you will like your job, but I will promise you that there is another job out there that you can find easily that you would like. So, I think that would be the benefit for the Master of Accountancy is that, more specialized knowledge, more in-depth knowledge in kind of one focus area, and that would allow you to meet the CPA requirements.
Excellent. And I know you and I discuss a lot, when I first started researching this degree, I thought, okay, it's just accountants. But what I found is that there are so many more career paths out there that this degree touches. So as you mentioned, if you're interested in finance is your passion, this is the specialized degree for you. So it's great. I would highly recommend that. Do some soul searching and then come back to us. And you do have to decide, when you do the application, whether or not you'd want to be in the Master of Accountancy versus the MBA with an accounting concentration. But I think that you'll find you'll be satisfied if you choose the Master of Accountancy.
I also, think that it's a specialized degree, so that's extremely helpful. And even if you want to open up a small business, maybe you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to understand how to measure and report your performance through accounting. If you don't, you're not going to be in business very long. So accounting is extremely versatile because it is extremely necessary in many different in all industries and many different areas of business. I like to say that accountants may not cure cancer, but accountants are the ones that are helping these companies report their performance so that the best companies that are developing new cancer drugs are the ones getting the funding, and companies that are don't have good operations, don't have good performance, aren't getting the funding. So in some ways, accountants are helping to cure cancer. That may be a stretch, but I'm going to go with it.
I love it. I forgot to do our plug. So if you'd like to hear more from Dr. Jennifer Stevens and myself, we are doing a coffee hour next Tuesday at noon. That is just one-on-one time with Dr. Jennifer Stevens. So I do hope that you'll join us. If you are interested in joining us for that event, that is through Microsoft Teams. So again, it's that one-on-one FaceTime. Get your questions answered. And I can pop the link to that one in the question and answer box. So if you're thinking, I don't have any questions right now, but I do have questions tomorrow, you can either email us or join us for our coffee hour. And we just have such a great time at those, don't we? We just really get in depth with some of the topics that we discuss. Let's see. I don't see too many questions in the question and answer box about the Master of Accountancy. I think we answered a lot of them, but do note that if you are in the Master of Accountancy program, you will have to attend our LDP, which we previously discussed, and so far, yeah, so good. One interesting aspect about this degree is if you are in our business path or the standard Master of Accountancy, we have embedded the business analytics certificate curriculum into this core coursework. So not only are you getting the Master of Accountancy, but you can get the little piece of paper as well that says, I've also earned the business analytics certificate. And that just goes back to what Dr. Stevens was saying and how this degree is really at the cutting edge. It's not just the numbers, but it's also interpreting the data and seeing how you can actually provide strategic business insights using those financial numbers. So that's just a fun bonus that I like to tell people about. And if you'd like more information about that, Dr. Stevens and I did a wonderful webinar a few months ago, and I can link you guys to that as well, about how data analytics and accountancy go together. So I'm not sure if you all have any other questions. Feel free to put them in the question and answer box. If not, I will make sure Dr. Stevens answers those as well. So we will go ahead and move on here. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so our final graduate degree program, and if y'all want to hang on, we'll go through this, and then I'll quickly go through some of our admissions requirements, and then we'll go back to any question and answers that you have. But I want to talk about our final graduate degree program here in the College of Business, online graduate degree program, and that is the Master of Athletic Administration with Kelly Walton. So hi, Kelly. How are you today?
I am doing fantastic. Thanks so much for having me here. This has been a great session so far.
Thank you. So, you know, we always say that the MAA is one of our best programs, but it's kind of like the odd duck in the College of Business. So can you talk a little bit about why it's in the College of Business and what the whole program is about?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. That is great. We are definitely a niche program. We are unique and we have a very, very specific focus. So it is a little bit different than some of the other programs. But the Master of Athletic Administration program, we really focus on making sure that people are prepared for a career in interscholastic athletic administration. And what that is preparing people to be high school and middle school athletic directors or working at a state high school association. But it's very focused on interscholastic athletics. You know, the program itself is in the College of Business for a variety of reasons. First and foremost, because athletics, it has really become a big business, and whether it's in a small rural school or a private school or a big public school, it's still run by, it's a business, right? There's marketing and sponsorship and inventories and event management and legal issues and a variety of different things that come the way of an athletic director. And many athletic directors and athletic departments are really small. So they have a small group of people and or one person who's in charge of everything. So our goal is to teach our students everything that they need to know to be successful as a high school athletic director. We have phenomenal industry professionals. We have phenomenal faculty who bring a lot of experience. We have several current and retired athletic directors who can bring their personal experience to it. As well, we have industry experts who teach in their area of expertise like marketing and data analysis and law to bring that to our students as well. One of the really important things with our program is its ties to the NIAAA. The NIAAA is really a leading area or a leading association with professional development for athletic directors. And so we partner with them and use several of their leadership training courses as a part of our curriculum. It's only a small part of the curriculum, but it's an important part of the curriculum that helps provide a lot of foundations for what we want our students to learn. And then we also make sure that it's up to date and current with best practices. So again, we're designed to prepare people to be an athletic director, to learn those skills, to, how do you lead a team of coaches? How do you, oversee inventory of equipment? How do you book games? How do you book referees? All those kind of things that come with overseeing an athletic department. It is 30 credit hours total. We just did an overhaul of our curriculum that has been fantastic. We just implemented that in the fall. So it takes about 1.5 years to complete. Again, we partner with the NIAAA and we use their leadership training course materials. As people go through the program, they actually earn that LTC credit, and that goes on their NIAAA account as they want to look toward getting certified as a registered athletic administrator, certified athletic administrator, or the other, there's a variety of different certifications that people can earn through NIAAA. So it's a great first step to doing that. And our coursework includes leadership and ethics, marketing, facility and event management, financial management, HR, data analysis and communications, and legal foundations. We also have an athletic leadership forum that is a 2.5-day seminar on campus in Athens. And the leadership forum is one of the most important, best things we have. We've been really, it's been unfortunate we didn't get to hold it last year because coming to campus for 2.5 days and getting to see, the Ohio University facilities, to get to know your cohort members, get to know the people you're taking classes with, to get to know people who have similar interests, as you. When we have 70 to 80 people on campus together, it's really an amazing couple of days. And so, this gives people an opportunity to network. We do some classwork. We have some idea sharing. We have a lot of leadership development. And it's really an important piece of the program. We have had to move it virtually, which, of course, we're an online program, so we do that, really well. So it went really well being virtual last year, but our goal is to get that back in person as soon as we're able to, safely for our students and for those on campus.
Ooh, thank you for that. The MAA program is one of those programs that is very neat. So as you mentioned, it's for interscholastic athletic directors. But I think that what we often get asked is like, can I move on from there? And I think that the answer is yes. The foundation that you get here, while it is very, very directed for athletic directors, will allow you to gain that experience to go wherever you'd like in that sports management field.
And we've actually had a few people who have gone on to very unique careers. We had somebody who went and worked with Special Olympics, and their focus was working with interscholastics through the Special Olympics. And so, we provide basic business foundations. It's just the application for everything is related to interscholastic athletics. So we've got leadership and marketing and event management. So again, it's all very, important business concepts that are applicable to a variety of different areas. It's just that our assignments and, applied projects and all those things are very focused on interscholastics.
For sure. And I love that, we discussed that it's so ingrained with the NIAAA and the NFHS. Our professors and people who teach in these courses have so much experience. I want to believe that they actually invented the career of athletic director. But at the same time, I read a press release that the program, you guys recently partnered with Gipper Media, which I think is a social media company, but it's as ingrained in history as the program is, it's also very future forward thinking.
It is. And that's one of the benefits, too, of having, and even having some of our current students as athletic directors, right? So they bring a lot to the table. Our faculty bring a lot to the table. And we're always trying to make sure that we're cutting edge, right? There's always important foundations, for, hey, we've been doing this since the beginning of sport business education, right? That's what we've been doing at Ohio University in our sports ed department. We were the first, and that's great. But it's only great if you stay current. So all of our faculty and all of our facilitators and everybody who's involved is always trying to look for what's next. What do people need to know now? What are they going to need to know next year? What do they need to know 5 years from now? And so that's why those partnerships with NIAAA, NFHS, local associations are really important, so that we make sure that we're on the cutting edge of it. And Gipper is a perfect example of that. They are a social media company, and they provide a platform for providing digital, a Twitter post, right? They give you the format for how to do that. They have a variety of different formats. They have a variety of different pictures and photos and images and all kinds of different things you can use to promote your program, because, as people know in interscholastic athletics, there isn't much of a budget, if any, for marketing and or social media. So you try to find different ways to reach people, in a wide way, and Gipper does a great job of that. So we actually integrate that with a class. Our students are able to use the platform. They actually do an assignment that's involved with Gipper, and it's been fantastic. So we try to involve people with, what's cutting edge technology, what are people using now, and what, if you go interview for a job and then they ask you about how to do this, you might bring something to the table that they've never even heard of and they're not even doing. So it's that new, innovative, what's next idea.
For sure. And I know that our students in the MAA program, they're all so passionate. I would say that the MAA program is the most direct program where you affect people's daily lives. I mean, the student athletic experience is the thing that you remember from high school, middle school, elementary school. You know, everyone remembers their high school games, and it's not even just like the sports aspect of it either. It's the pep rally, it's the marching band, it's all the audience participation. So I just adore this program. And if there is one question that we have in the question and answer box, and how, and it kind of is the one that we get frequently. So how would you say the MAA differs from like an MSA? And I know we offer both at Ohio, so.
Yeah, sure. You know, I think the difference is really just the applied assignments that we have. So, again, you know, in both of our sport programs, you know, the MSA is much more broad, where it covers marketing and revenue generation and leadership and law and human resources and finance, you know, very similar, if not exactly the same type of topics. But the applied projects that we do and applied assignments that we have are much more broad in an MSA type program, because the goal there is to prepare people more for careers in pro sports, college athletics, international, and possibly in interscholastic as well. It's just a broader range of things, where with the MAA program, we focus solely on interscholastic. And part of that is because there are so many athletic directors, and there's such a need to make sure that people are prepared to do that job, very specifically an interscholastic focus. And it is a very different setup being in a school type system than it is working in pro sports, college athletics, or you know, Olympic sports and international. So those NIAAA foundations that are in those courses are very much, it's just very applicable. It's a practical degree. It's a very professional development oriented degree. It's, you know, hey, if you learn these things, it's going to prepare you to do this specific job. It's just very unique in that way, where the MSA is much broader for people who maybe aren't looking for interscholastic or aren't sure what they're looking at, aren't exactly sure what they're looking for.
That makes sense. Thank you. Do you find that the careers, like, do your students get their jobs in athletic directors or assistant athletic directors like fairly quickly, during the time that they're in the program?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. So a lot of our students aren't actually always looking to become an athletic director immediately, which is also a unique situation for our program. We have a lot of students who are current teachers and our coaches who want to be an athletic director someday, or they are in the process of transitioning, but they're still a couple of years out because they still want to coach as opposed to being in athletic administration. So yes, some transition fairly quickly, some transition during the program. We actually just had a student who graduated in the summer he got an international job just a couple weeks before graduation. And it's there are a lot of American schools internationally that hire athletic directors, and we actually have a few that have come through our program that have those very unique type jobs as well. So, you know, there's people like him who transitioned a couple weeks before. There's some who are looking to transition right away. But every situation, like any other, program, every situation is different, right? Some people are looking to transition now. Some people are looking for a future. Some people are already athletic directors, and they just wanted to make sure that they had the professional development skills to do the job really well.
Great. Awesome. So it sounds like if this is your passion, you know, sports and helping students achieve their goals as an athletic director, that this is the program for you. So thank you so much. Do you have anything you want to wrap up with?
I do. Can I just add one more thing? Because I haven't mentioned it, but education-based athletics is really the focus of our program, of the NIAAA, of what we teach and what we what we really wrap everything around. And so for those who are interested in a career here, and like you said, you know, our students are some of the most passionate about what they do and the lives that they impact every day with the student athletes. And it's that education-based athletic foundation that I think really drives our students to become an athletic director and to have that impact on their student athletes eventually. So it's really it's a very unique degree, but it just inspires me all the time. Every time I see applications come through and our students' dedication to their student athletes, or as they graduate, and I watch what they've done over the last year and a half and how they've prepared to take that next step. It's really inspiring. Students are amazing.
I agree. I love hearing those stories, and I remember the student that you spoke about earlier who works with the special education and the Special Olympics, actually, and she was just so passionate.
She's amazing.
I am so glad that, she said, and I remember her saying, like, I would have never been where I was without this program. And I thought that was it speaks so much volume to it. And I love that you updated the curriculum just this past fall, actually, so that it is faster and much more applicable for students.
And it's all been updated, and it's great.
You've done such good work. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you.
So if you have any questions for Kelly, feel free to pop them in the Q&A box, but she'll stick around with us as well. But I think we are ready to move on, and then we're going to circle back. So this is your last call. Start typing in that Q&A box for any and all degrees, and we'll make sure we get them answered for you. But a lot of you have been asking about what our degree requirements are. And it's pretty standard for a master's degree. You do have to have a bachelor's degree from an accredited university. We prefer for most of our programs will have that GPA of 3.0 or higher. That is most of the programs. If you have any specific questions, you can reach out to an enrollment advisor, and you can always discuss your situation or whatever happened with your enrollment advisor. But from that, we will need a transcript from all colleges and universities attended, your current resume, just to showcase where you've been and where you're headed. For our graduate business certificates, you do not need a personal statement, but for all the other programs, you will. And that is a really great opportunity for you to discuss your goals and what you think that this program will do for you. I know that Dr. Young often says that in the admissions committee, you are required to read every single document. So if you write it, they will read it. And then all programs, except for the College of Business graduate business certificates, require 2 letters of recommendation. For our MAA students, you do need a letter of recommendation from an interscholastic athletic director that you are working with or have worked with in the past. And I know that sometimes questions come up about letters of recommendation. Who should I be recommended by, and can it be my uncle? And we would prefer it wouldn't be your uncle unless they have specifically worked with you. Maybe it was a family business, so that would be fine. But someone who can speak to your professional nature and how this degree would really help you in your future endeavors. And then, of course, we have our online application fee, which if you joined us late, we're actually going to be waiving because you joined us for this webinar. So we'll have an application fee waiver code, which is COB Learn, and we'll put that in the chat for you. That'll save you $50 for the graduate applications and $35 for the graduate business certificate applications. And then none of our programs require the GRE or GMAT. That is just an additional savings, so you don't have to worry about that. Phew, that was a lot. So thank you so much for hanging with us. This is your last chance for any questions that you have. We are currently recruiting for our summer term. So that means our application deadline, the final application deadline for our summer term will be early April. I believe it's April 9th, which is a Friday. and classes begin in May. So that is what we're going for now. And I think I mentioned earlier at the top of the hour as well that we have a current incentive scholarship going on. So if you complete your application by next Friday, then you will be in the pool by program to receive an additional $750 scholarship. And all you have to do for that is complete your application, and our admissions committee will select based off of that. So high motivation to get that done. If you have questions about it, you can ask an enrollment advisor. You can email us at this email address or our phone number. We are always here. You can text us as well. So thank you a lot for joining us. Many thanks. All right, so I have a couple questions in our Q&A box, and I think I'm going to direct this one for Dr. Young because he probably sees the most volume of applications. So, Dr. Young, what do you look for in an application? And I'm guessing that means someone who is applying to either MBA or MBAN or any of the committees that you sit on.
Sure. So great question. That's a pretty common question, so I'm glad to field this one. Besides the normal things, so, like Kim said, we'll need your transcripts and we'll need letters of recommendation. Preferably, one of those letters will come from your superior. So as I mentioned earlier in the call, any graduate program that you take, you're going to have to adjust, and it gives us a sense that if your superior is on board and supportive of you pursuing a graduate program, then that is a good thing from application review. I'd say the next thing is your purpose letter or your cover letter, if you will. I think in that, I'm looking for honesty, transparency, and career progression. So a lot of times students maybe don't have the most stellar background, or there's some areas that they wish that we wouldn't see on their transcripts, maybe a D or something in a math course that was taken 15 years ago or something like that. It's not going to be one single thing that's going to eliminate you from the possible candidates that we accept into our program. So just be honest about that. We understand that students go through a period in their undergraduate careers that they wish they would have done better. People obviously mature and go through their careers and develop and things of that nature. So I would just be honest about any kind of negatives that you have had, and speak about how they have shaped you as an individual, because we don't really like to see that kind of gap. We don't want you to ignore negative things. We'd rather you be transparent about it and talk about it. And, we'd also like to hear about your career progression. So where did you start, from your undergraduate days, and how have you developed professionally in your career thus far? And like Kim said, what would a MBA degree or MBAN or other degrees do for you? What are you looking to achieve? What is your goal? Because it really relates to, what does it take for success in a graduate level program? And I would say simply grit. It's not about your background, it's where you want to be. So do you have enough motivation to finish a program? It's not always easy. You got a lot of things to work in and overcome as far as managing your personal lives and your professional lives in addition to an academic program. So, I look at grit. Is this person determined to be successful? So I don't look as much or put too much weight in grades that were obtained a long time ago and courses that might not have been your interest at the time, but what is your motivation to pursue that degree now?
Yeah, no, that's great. That is some great tips. And some of along that line, you have come in contact with a lot of students. Like, what are some skills that the most successful students that you've come in contact have?
Time management. So, like I keep saying, it's an adjustment. So those who can come up with sort of a routine at night that I have the support of my spouse or something like that I'm going to dedicate myself to my studies at a particular time. Maybe that means putting the kids to sleep at a certain time, or maybe there's an arrangement you make with a babysitter or something of that nature. You've got to figure out your own path about how you can carve out enough time. So time management is critical. Like I said, I teach the stats class, quote unquote. So I get a lot of students that are worried about that. And I really don't think it's the content at all. I really don't. It's the ability to manage time that's most critical. So somebody that is willing to put in the time, you will achieve this degree, you will be successful. If you do the behaviors that we ask of you. In my class, it's about doing what I call preparation assignments. Watch those videos, take notes if you're struggling, come into that live class, ask me about those so we can talk about those issues that we're having. That will probably benefit many others in the course. Engage in those discussion boards. Make it a routine to, again, carve out that time nightly or whatever your schedule allows to engage. This is an online program, so you might feel like it can quickly pass you by and you're not a part of a group or organization, but that's really not the case if you engage. So engagement is critical. So that's what I would say.
I would agree. And I think that's time management for sure, and definitely organization skills, being able to compartmentalize what's going on in your day life, what's going on in your job, and being able to turn that off to mentally switch over to your graduate school work. I think, but I know you can do it because I've seen it, I've done it myself, and again, we have students that you can speak to if you have questions about it. And I was thinking about it as we were discussing all this. So Dr. B, with the MSM program, you mentioned that students get matched with a mentor, but we also have this unique ability to match prospective students. So people like yourselves who might be interested in the MSM program with speaking with students who are in the MSM program. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a really great opportunity where we have program ambassadors. We have an executive president from the MSM. We're small, but we're mighty. So that's the one way that we set up where students can talk to another student. I believe there's different ways to do that for each of our programs, because we certainly have students from each of the programs that are excited, either alumni or current students that would like to talk to prospective students.
Oh, so there we go. Sorry, I was on mute. So if you are interested in speaking to an ambassador, for example, again, this is available for the MSM, the Master of Science in Management program. Definitely get in contact with an enrollment advisor. We definitely want to be cognizant of everyone's time, so it's important that serious inquiries only, but that is available to you, and I think it's an amazing opportunity. That being said, I don't see many more questions coming into the question and answer box, so I think I'm going to give you guys back a whole 13 minutes. So thank you so much for joining us. If you have questions, again, our enrollment advisors are here for you, and so am I. So thank you so much for joining us today. Again, COB Learn is your application fee waiver code. Our application deadline for summer 21 courses is coming up in April. So get those applications in, and we're certainly here for you. So thank you all so much for joining us. We'll be in touch. Thanks. Goodbye.